Today, the Union for Wichita Firefighters calling for an overhaul of Sedgwick County emergency communications. This is following a deadly apartment fire last month.
The union says the incident highlights the concerns it's been raising since June, mainly around 911's new dispatch system.
Sean Logging talks with the union about what action they want to see addressed on what they call management and training failures.
A call for help the Wichita Firefighters Union says should not have gone unanswered. Union President Ted Bush says the 911 call was made by 22-year-old Paoli Bedeski while trapped in her Brook Hollow apartment during the October 13th fire. She later died. Bush says her call was never relayed to firefighters.
15 seconds after we arrived, her line went dead. 15 seconds. We had time.
Bush says there were other calls of people trapped dispatch didn't tell crews on the scene about until later. Bush says firefighters did a standard search for people inside, but if they had that information immediately, crews would have done targeted searches.
We go directly into that window, take great risk, whatever needs to be done to get that person out.
Bush points to other dispatch issues of information being relayed on the wrong channel or not being communicated. Bush also says the initial units arriving requested a second alarm to get more resources, but dispatch didn't activate that immediately.
I want to apologize to the firefighters on scene. They don't deserve this. It's hurt them.
The union now requesting a third-party review of the fire here at Brook Hollow Apartments, how it relates to dispatch and the training that dispatchers are receiving.
Get every stakeholder involved in this in a room, and I don't care how long it takes or what it takes or how many feelings are hurt. This has to get fixed.
He says firefighters have reported to the union more than 180 dispatch errors since June.
Wrong call types, incorrect addresses, failure to relay time-sensitive life safety information.
Bush says his intent isn't to point fingers or blame anyone because firefighters know how important dispatchers are in doing their job, but that something needs to change. In Wichita, Sean Logging, 12 News.
Bush says he wants city and county leaders to recognize and address these issues so dispatchers have the resources that they need. You just heard the concerns from the fire union. Now the county is responding to those concerns, admitting there were failures that day, but saying other claims are not true.
Brandon Stitt talked to the woman in charge of the county 911 center today. Brandon.
And Mike, Rachel, today the county's 911 director admits that there were failures, but not all that are being alleged by the fire union. And this isn't the first time the union has questioned the dependability of Sedgwick County's 911 system and the dispatchers behind the scenes.
Simple fact is we're human, and it wasn't heard.
Sedgwick County Emergency Communications responding to Wichita's fire union. The union saying dispatchers caused the death of 22-year-old Paoli Bedeski in the October fire at Brook Hollow Apartments because of a failure to communicate.
We have examined this fire, and we've done so in partnership with the Wichita Fire Department and have had their input on it as well.
I can say that clearly.
That review into the apartment fire call included listening to a frantic call from Bedeski reporting a fire and that she was trapped. Forshe's claim that the dispatcher didn't understand the call.
Unfortunately, the information about Ms. Bedeski calling from apartment number 306 was not intelligibly heard or understood on the phone from the dispatcher. I wish that that would have been heard and identified. I think everybody involved does.
Forshe said there was no delay when dispatchers learned that someone was trapped.
There's a man trapped in apartment 302.
Our first confirmed report of somebody trapped was in an apartment, and that report came in just shy of 4:08 in the morning at 4:07 and 54 seconds. This was promptly relayed to fire crews.
But she does admit failures. Firefighters called for more help as the fire grew out of control.
Make this a second alarm.
Before she says the dispatchers didn't know how to do it.
There were two people that were unable to identify how to send that second alarm. And I feel like when you have a systemic issue like that that's pervasive beyond one person, I think training is needed. We will continue to respond to concrete, truthful requests for improvements, for modifications, for partnership, and I think that we have a really good relationship with the Wichita Fire Department administration in doing that.
The county admits failures in the most recent case and says more training is needed. It points to improvements made to the 911 center. The county has spent more than $1.5 million on equipment and environment upgrades since 2017. More than $5 million has been dedicated to enhancing and implementing computer-aided dispatch systems since 2018. And Emergency Communications has received a 25% increase in pay, totaling more than $30 million.